There comes a moment in every healing journey when something shifts, not inside the narcissist, but inside you. It is the moment you stop chasing closure, the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop hoping they will suddenly become the person you always wished they could be. And strangely, that is often the very moment the narcissist begins to react in ways you never expected. Why? Because narcissistic control depends on access. It depends on knowing they can still influence your emotions, your decisions, or your attention. When they finally realize that you are not coming back, not emotionally, not mentally, not physically, they often experience a profound loss of control. Their response is rarely genuine remorse. Instead, it is often an attempt to regain influence, protect their self-image, or avoid confronting their own inner emptiness. Today's message is not about understanding the narcissist so you can return to them. It is about understanding their patterns so you can continue moving forward in freedom, wisdom, and emotional strength. Remember this: your healing begins where their control ends. There is a powerful moment that many survivors never expect. It is not the day you leave. It is not even the first week of silence. It is the day the narcissist finally realizes that your absence is permanent. Not because you blocked their number, not because you stopped answering their messages, but because something inside you has changed. For the first time, they can no longer reach your heart. That realization often changes their behavior. The person who once ignored your messages may suddenly become eager to talk. The one who seemed cold and indifferent may suddenly appear emotional. The individual who dismissed your feelings may unexpectedly speak with kindness. At first, it can be confusing. You may wonder, have they finally changed? Do they really miss me? Was I wrong about everything? These questions are completely understandable, but this is where wisdom becomes more important than emotion. One of the greatest misunderstandings people make is believing that every apology reflects genuine transformation. Real change is demonstrated through consistent actions over a long period of time, not through emotional words spoken during moments of loss. When someone has relied on control, admiration, or emotional dependence to maintain a relationship, losing that influence can be deeply unsettling. Sometimes, what appears to be love is actually a reaction to losing access. This does not mean every former partner who reaches out has harmful intentions. People can genuinely grow, accept responsibility, and change. However, lasting change is shown through humility, accountability, respect for boundaries, and consistent behavior, not simply because someone fears losing the relationship. That is why emotional maturity requires discernment. The narcissist may suddenly send a simple message: "I've been thinking about you. Can we just talk? I miss you. I finally understand everything now." Sometimes they apologize. Sometimes they promise counseling. Sometimes they admit mistakes they previously denied. Sometimes they remind you of your happiest memories together. Sometimes they even say exactly what you wish they had said months or years ago. Why? Because they are testing something. They want to know whether they still have emotional access, whether your heart still responds, whether you will reopen the door they once assumed would always remain unlocked. But healing teaches a different lesson. Healing teaches you that not every message deserves a response. Not every apology requires reconciliation. Not every conversation deserves another chance. One of the greatest signs of emotional growth is learning that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is wisdom. There was a time when every notification caused your heart to race. Every phone call demanded your attention. Every emotional conversation pulled you back into confusion. But today, your peace is no longer controlled by someone else's behavior. That is real freedom. Remember how difficult it was to leave. Remember the sleepless nights. Remember constantly questioning yourself. Remember wondering if you were asking for too much. Remember apologizing for things that were never your fault. Remember how small you sometimes felt. Healing did not happen overnight. It took courage. It took tears. It took learning to trust yourself again. It took rebuilding confidence one day at a time. Do not allow a single emotional message to erase months of growth. Many people confuse familiarity with safety. The relationship feels familiar. The conversations feel familiar. The emotional highs and lows feel familiar. But familiar does not always mean healthy. Sometimes the most dangerous place is the place that feels most familiar. Growth often feels unfamiliar because it requires new boundaries, new habits, and new standards. Your healing deserves protection. Healthy love will never require you to abandon your dignity. Healthy relationships respect boundaries. Healthy people accept accountability. Healthy love creates security instead of constant confusion. If someone truly wants to rebuild trust after causing harm, they will understand that trust cannot be demanded. It must be earned patiently through honesty, humility, consistency, and respect. Pressure is not proof of love. Persistence is not proof of change. Promises are not proof of transformation. Character is. One of the most empowering things you can say to yourself is this: I do not have to make decisions based on guilt. You are not responsible for rescuing someone from the consequences of their choices. You are responsible for protecting your own emotional well-being. That is not revenge. That is wisdom. Sometimes silence becomes your strongest answer, not because you hate the other person, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop returning to what repeatedly wounded you. The greatest victory is not making the narcissist regret losing you. The greatest victory is reaching a place where your happiness no longer depends on whether they regret anything at all. Imagine waking up without fear, without waiting for the next emotional roller coaster, without wondering whether today will bring affection or criticism, without constantly trying to earn love that should have been freely given. That kind of peace is priceless. Do not trade it for temporary comfort. Every step forward matters. Every healthy boundary matters. Every day you choose self-respect over unhealthy attachment strengthens the person you are becoming. You are no longer chasing someone's approval. You are building a life grounded in confidence, wisdom, and emotional stability. The person who once believed they could always return whenever they wished may eventually realize that they no longer have that power. And by then, something beautiful has already happened. You have discovered your own strength. You have learned to trust your own judgment. You have found peace that cannot be manipulated. You have remembered your worth. So if unexpected contact ever comes, pause before reacting. Do not let loneliness make the decision. Do not let guilt make the decision. Do not let nostalgia make the decision. Let wisdom decide. Ask yourself, does this person's consistent behavior reflect genuine change? Will this decision protect my peace or reopen old wounds? Am I moving toward a healthier future or simply returning to a familiar past? The answers to those questions may protect the life you have worked so hard to rebuild, because your future is too valuable to sacrifice for temporary emotions. And the strongest version of you is the one who has learned that peace is far more precious than the illusion of control or the hope of empty promises. One of the most difficult parts of walking away from a narcissistic relationship is realizing that the battle does not always end when the relationship ends. Sometimes it simply changes form. When a narcissist can no longer control your choices, they may try to control the narrative. Instead of asking, "How can I take responsibility?" they may ask, "How can I protect my image?" This is why many survivors are shocked when they discover that people have heard a completely different version of what happened. The person who caused pain may suddenly present themselves as the one who was hurt. The one who ignored your feelings may claim they were misunderstood. The one who refused accountability may tell others they tried everything. Hearing this can be incredibly painful. You may feel an overwhelming urge to defend yourself, to explain every detail, to prove your innocence, to expose every lie. These feelings are understandable. Anyone who has been misrepresented naturally wants the truth to be known. But here's an important lesson. Not every accusation deserves your energy. Your peace is too valuable to spend every day trying to convince people who have already decided what they want to believe. Truth has something deception never has: consistency. A false story often requires constant maintenance. The truth simply remains the truth. Over time, actions speak louder than carefully crafted narratives. People pay attention to patterns. Someone may be able to fool others for a season, but character has a way of revealing itself over time. This is why your greatest defense is often your consistent behavior. Continue treating people with respect. Continue living honestly. Continue keeping your word. Continue acting with integrity even when no one is watching. Eventually, people notice the difference between genuine character and carefully managed appearances. One of the greatest traps you can fall into is becoming consumed by proving yourself. You start collecting evidence, saving messages, replaying conversations, trying to prepare arguments for people who never asked for them. Soon, the narcissist is no longer controlling your relationship. They are controlling your attention, and your attention is one of your most valuable resources. Ask yourself this question: where is my energy going? Is it helping me heal? Or is it keeping me emotionally connected to someone I have already left? Healing begins the moment your focus shifts away from managing someone else's opinion and back toward rebuilding your own life. Remember this: You cannot control what other people choose to believe. You can only control how you choose to live. That realization is incredibly freeing. There will always be people who misunderstand you. Some may only hear one side of the story, others may never ask for yours. As painful as that feels, your identity cannot depend upon universal approval. If your self-worth depends on everyone agreeing with you, you will spend your life chasing something impossible. Emotionally healthy people understand that being misunderstood is painful, but it is not the end of the world. Your peace is more valuable than winning every argument. Sometimes silence demonstrates greater strength than endless explanations. Silence is not weakness. Silence is choosing wisdom over endless conflict. Of course, there are situations where speaking up is necessary. If false accusations affect your safety, career, legal rights, or the well-being of others, it is appropriate to respond through truthful, measured, and appropriate channels. Setting the record straight is different from becoming trapped in endless battles over every rumor or distorted story. Discernment matters. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every rumor deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves space in your heart. One of the most powerful things you can say is, "I know who I am." That confidence doesn't come from pride. It comes from healing. It comes from knowing your values. It comes from recognizing that your character is built over years, not destroyed by a single false story. Healthy people eventually learn that reputation and character are not exactly the same. Reputation is what people think about you. Character is who you actually are. Reputation can change overnight. Character is built one decision at a time. Protect your character more than your image, because image depends on public opinion. Character depends on your daily choices. As you continue healing, you will notice something remarkable. The opinions that once kept you awake at night begin to lose their power. You stop checking whether someone is talking about you. You stop feeling responsible for correcting every misunderstanding. You stop chasing validation from people who were never willing to hear your heart. Instead, you invest that energy where it truly matters. Into your healing, into your family, into healthy friendships, into your purpose, into becoming the person you were always meant to be. That is freedom. The narcissist may spend enormous energy trying to rewrite the past. You do not have to. You get to write something far more important, your future. Every healthy decision you make writes a new chapter. Every boundary you keep writes a new chapter. Every act of self-respect writes a new chapter. Every day you choose peace over drama writes a new chapter. And eventually, your life itself becomes the answer, not because everyone suddenly agrees with your story, but because you are no longer living to prove it. You are simply living it. So let your integrity speak, let your consistency speak, let your peace speak, let your growth speak. Because in the end, a life marked by honesty, wisdom, and emotional health will always speak louder than a story built on manipulation. And the most powerful chapter of your story is not the one where someone tried to redefine you. It is the chapter where you refuse to let them. There comes a day in every healing journey when something remarkable happens. The pain that once consumed your thoughts no longer controls your life. The person you once waited for no longer occupies every moment of your mind. The memories that once brought tears begin to lose their power, and slowly, quietly, almost without realizing it, you become free. This is the moment many people misunderstand. They think the greatest victory is making the narcissist jealous. They imagine the greatest success is seeing the other person regret everything they did. But real healing points in a different direction. The greatest victory is not changing someone else's heart. It is reclaiming your own. For so long, your emotional world may have revolved around someone else's approval. A kind word could make your day. A cold response could ruin it. Their attention became your comfort. Their silence became your anxiety. Their approval became your measure of worth. Without realizing it, your emotional peace slowly became dependent on another person's unpredictable behavior. That is exhausting. No human being was created to live that way. Healthy love brings security. It does not require constant emotional survival. When healing begins, one of the first miracles is that your identity slowly returns. You begin remembering who you were before constant criticism shaped your thinking. You remember your strengths, your dreams, your laughter, your confidence, your ability to enjoy life without seeking permission. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" And you begin declaring, "I have always been enough." Not because you are perfect, but because your worth was never determined by someone else's inability to recognize it. One of the most beautiful changes during healing is that you stop chasing closure from the person who created the confusion. Instead, you find closure within yourself. You realize that not every question will be answered. Not every apology will come. Not every wrong will be made right. Yet your life does not have to remain on hold while waiting for something that may never happen. That realization changes everything. You stop waiting. You start living. You stop hoping someone else will finally choose you. You begin choosing yourself. You stop begging for respect. You begin expecting it. You stop tolerating behavior you once excused. You begin creating healthy boundaries. And those boundaries are not walls built from hatred. They are doors protected by wisdom. Many people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are punishments. They are not. Boundaries simply define what allows healthy relationships to flourish. They communicate self-respect. They create emotional safety. They protect peace. The healthier you become, the more naturally you recognize relationships built on honesty, kindness, accountability, and mutual respect. You no longer confuse intensity with intimacy. You no longer mistake unpredictability for passion. You no longer believe love requires endless sacrifice of your own emotional well-being. Instead, you discover something extraordinary. Peace. Real peace. The kind of peace that allows you to sleep without replaying arguments. The kind of peace that lets you laugh freely again. The kind of peace that no longer depends upon someone else's mood. That peace is priceless. As your healing grows, something else changes. Your standards rise. Not because you become proud, but because you finally understand your value. You no longer ignore red flags simply because you fear being alone. You no longer accept manipulation just to keep a relationship alive. You no longer shrink yourself so someone else can feel powerful. Instead, you surround yourself with people who celebrate your growth rather than fear it. People who apologize when they are wrong. People who communicate honestly. People who encourage your dreams instead of competing with them. People who make you feel emotionally safe. That is what healthy love looks like. Some people wonder, what happens when the narcissist sees all of this? The answer is simple. They see someone they can no longer easily influence. Someone who no longer reacts the way they once did. Someone who is no longer searching for validation in the same place. Whether or not they fully understand or accept that change, your healing means that the old patterns no longer have the same hold over you. But here is the important truth. Your goal should never be to make them realize what they lost. Your goal is to realize what you have gained. You have gained wisdom. You have gained confidence. You have gained emotional freedom. You have gained discernment. You have gained peace. You have gained the courage to build healthier relationships. Those gifts are far more valuable than anyone else's regret. Imagine your future. Imagine waking up excited instead of anxious. Imagine entering relationships without constantly fearing rejection. Imagine trusting yourself again. Imagine making decisions based upon wisdom rather than fear. Imagine smiling without pretending. Imagine loving without losing yourself. That future is possible. Not because someone else finally changed, but because you did. Growth transforms every area of life. It changes the way you think, the way you speak, the way you choose friends, the way you recognize respect, the way you respond to conflict, the way you value your own time and energy. Healing is not simply recovering from pain. Healing is becoming someone who refuses to repeat the same unhealthy patterns. That takes courage. It takes patience. It takes self-reflection. It takes support. But every step forward is worth it. Some days will still be difficult. Certain memories may still hurt. There may be moments when loneliness whispers that returning would be easier. During those moments, remember how far you have come. Remember the strength you have discovered. Remember the peace you have worked so hard to build. Do not trade lasting freedom for temporary familiarity. Keep moving forward. Keep growing. Keep believing that healthier relationships are possible. Most importantly, keep believing that your life is not defined by the chapter you survived. It is defined by the person you chose to become afterward. One day you will look back, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Not because the pain was good, but because healing taught you lessons that comfort never could. It taught you resilience. It taught you discernment. It taught you compassion. It taught you the importance of healthy boundaries. And above all, it taught you that your worth has never depended on another person's opinion. Your greatest success is not someone else's regret. It is your own transformation, because the strongest version of you is not the one who finally made the narcissist understand your value. It is the one who finally understood it yourself. And from that moment forward, no one can take it away.